Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. My name's Jade, and this is the Odd Couple Rant. You can call us old if you want, we don't care, but it is the Odd Couple Rant. And it's me and Mike Enjo, sponsored by DistroKid. We're going to be talking about songwriting today during Songtember. But we're going to kick off with a song by Mike Enjo himself, and this is called Wonderland, baby. Well, Wonderland.
Oh, Mother, how are you today? I hope you smiled along the way. And how is Dad? I hope he's doing okay. You're probably wondering where I've been, what kind of trouble I've been in. Well, rest your weary heart, Mom. Oh, where do I begin? I took my soul through the darkest hole to travel back to understand. I live in Wonderland. She stopped my beating heart. You probably heard I fell apart. Well, I needed that. We all need that. I looked at where it all began, of who I was and who I am. And who I am isn't who I'm supposed to be. Now I don't control it. The river flows in. It's not in need of my command. Takes me to Wonderland. I've been down the rabbit hole, and though the poison made me small, I fell as far as I could go. I ate love that made me tall, made me fall. I met a madman. He took my hand and let me wait.
And hello and welcome to the show. My name is Jade, and this is the Rant. It's the Odd Couple Rant, or the Old Couple Rant, whatever you want to call it. We don't care. We're odd, we're old. We're just here to talk about music and share our wisdom or lack of wisdom thereof. It doesn't really matter. Take it for what you will. Today's show is sponsored by DistroKid. Let me tell you a little bit about them before we get into the show, because they are fantastic. And I've got a loose microphone. DistroKid can help you get your music out to the public. How can they do so? Well, you go to a place called distrokid.com, you sign up, you pay a really tiny fee of $22.99 annually, but unless you use this code here that my friend Thomas Christ is putting in the chat right there, or you can see up the top there as well, and it's in the description, distrokid.com/VIP/JadeStarr, and you will get 7% off your first year. And what can you do with that $22.99 a year? Well, you can release as many songs as you like. As many, to heaps of places, so many places that it's ridiculous. And places you've never even heard of, as Donald Trump would say. Many of them, the greatest places of all time. I'm doing accordion hands. And you can do albums, singles, whatever you like. You can upload unlimited songs, unlimited lyrics. You get a Spotify check mark, royalty split, so you can split it with other artists, 21 free tools. You get a mobile app, and it's rad. And you should do it if you're thinking about releasing music. I've been using DistroKid way before they sponsored this show, and you know, it's an absolute pleasure for them to sponsor me. It's just I'm gobsmacked still that they do so. So thank you so much, DistroKid. We'll hear a little bit more about them during the show. So what is this show about? Well, this started out between two friends who would have phone calls between each other, obviously, but not between me and someone else. Mike nearly spat his coffee everywhere. Oh, fuck. Let's just bring him on. Hi, Mike.
There you have me. Good morning, good morning, good morning. Hello, everyone. How are we all? I'm looking down here because you're all on my chat down here. Hello, people in the chat down there. How royal of me. Hello down there.
So this show started with us having a phone call every couple of weeks, and we talked for about 5 hours, wouldn't we?
And the last show was only 2 hours long, so it wasn't truly representative, was it?
No. But we still got a lot done. We're probably more concentrated doing it here because we can't go off on tangents and say all the mean things that we say.
Yeah, that's true. Well, maybe not. Hey, I don't just write songs. I write dad's jokes on the fly as well. And I wrote one during your intro. It goes, I'm not promiscuous. I've just got a loose microphone.
There we go. And I've got a drum beat ready for you. We're rocking and rolling. Mike, tell these people who you are, where you're from, what do you do? Because I've got no clue. Here you go. Here's the stage.
Do you know, funny enough, this is, I shouldn't really admit this, it's awful, but I was on ChatGTP last night planning my next video, of course. And and I wrote in there, I thought I'll test this out. And so if you want to know who I am, go to your ChatGTP and write, tell me about Mike Enjo, because it actually will tell you about me. That's the weird thing about it.
It's true, isn't it? It's so weird when you do it.
Yes, it worked. So yeah, I'm not going to say anything. Just do that.
Was it accurate?
No, it was reasonably accurate. It was like a combination of my about me in my YouTube channel, a couple of things, magazine, not really magazine, online magazine interviews I'd done about myself and my YouTube journey and blah, blah. And it sort of cleverly combined all those things together in a very flattering about me. But basically, I'm a singer-songwriter. I'm a bedroom producer. And I've got a YouTube channel called Creative Source, and I try and inform people about everything we do in that way, in as simple a way as possible. That's it. That's the way I'll say it.
And it is a wonderful channel. I've been subscribed for a long, long time, and whenever you drop a video, I jump on it straight away because I at least know, even if I don't agree with anything, I know it's going to look nice.
And it takes a lot to make it look nice. Yes. Oh, I'm thinking about that. No, I won't go off on that tangent, but yeah,
All
carry
right,
on.
we're already a tangent. So today we're
Yeah,
talking about songwriting because it is
oh,
Songtember. Pete Johns does this little thing every year called Songtember where he gets
yeah.
everybody involved to write a song and release it. And I just thought this would be the perfect time because we have had some chats about songwriting, and there's one name that always comes up in our conversations, and he's an old bugger. And he's got a YouTube channel. We always end up bringing that dude up because he's talking about
Oh,
songwriting.
yeah.
You know, that Rick Beato guy. We talk about him a little
Yeah,
bit.
yeah.
But I'm interested to hear like your take on it and how you've evolved around song writing, because obviously it's an important thing. If you're unable to write a song, you may as well become a painter.
I know. If we write songs as musicians, we really are the elite. We're way better than other musicians, basically. Let's start off there. Because without the song, there isn't anything. And I know that's a cliche, but I just want everyone to sit and think about that for a moment and just absorb that the beauty and the wonder of song. And there's very little approaches it in nature from other beings, as far as we know, anyway. And I think sometimes we lose track of just how wonderful and unique and inspiring that actually is. Even if you write relatively rubbish songs, actually, the fact that you're doing it at all is great. And I'm so pleased that machines are now doing it as well.
Yay. Yay.
Yay!
Yay
It's a
us.
democracy.
Yeah, you know, we strived. We started out with this industrial revolution, and it was a great concept in thought. Let's create this thing that's going to give us more time to do the things that we love. That didn't happen. So let's create AI, and that will probably help us. But you know what? In the meantime, while we're waiting for it to evolve, let's let it take away all our pursuits
That's right.
and the things that we
No,
love.
let's let it. It's not so much it's doing things for us so that we've got more time for the things that we love. It's also doing the things that we love as well. So now we've got nothing to do. Now, in all seriousness, just as a little tangent, I'm not a AI cynic. We've probably discussed this before, but
Yes,
I just don't feel threatened by it. I don't care at all. I totally don't feel threatened by it. I don't.
me
And
too.
people say, "Well, it's going to get better. It's going to get." I don't care how good it gets. Doesn't matter. I'm still going to be writing songs, and I like writing songs. I have a thrill, but I actually don't think that there's certain things it can achieve. It can't write the song that you played in the intro, right?
No way.
Wonderland.
No.
It can write a song which someone can put in a prompt and ask it to write a song which is reflective about, your current space in time, but not that specific song. It can't express for me in that way because that was a very specific moment in my life, and it really was about me sending a message to my parents at the time about what I'd been through. And although you hope that when you write something there's a commonality in it, that other people it's gonna resonate with other people, so in that sense it's reasonably generic, I suppose, but it can't write my song for me anyway. That's
Because it
simple as that.
doesn't have those feelings. It doesn't have those memories. It doesn't have, well, it does have ghost memories. It remembers stuff that kind of isn't real. But I think that's because of the shit that people put into it. Maybe that's why we don't remember stuff correctly. Well, it just doesn't have, it doesn't have experience. That's where I think it fails. Do you remember the first song that you kind of officially wrote as a kid? Or
Yeah.
and what was it about? And did you record it? What did you write it on? What was the process?
I recorded it on a cassette tape, I guess, that I've got somewhere. So basically, my brother, my oldest brother, who's about 10 years older than me, was at the time, I was a kid and had moved from Australia to the UK, and he followed a few years later. And he was, this is so ridiculous. He was doing a world record attempt for playing Monopoly for the longest period of time
Wow.
with him and his mates, right? And they were going to play, and they ended up playing Monopoly non-stop for 19 days, and we're in the Guinness Book of Records in that year, 1981, I think it was, purple cover. And anyway, he had come to me. I was about 10 years old, and he had some lyrics written out called "Advance to Go." right? And he'd never written a song before, but he knew I could tinker around on the guitar a little bit. And he said, "Can you put some music to these lyrics?" And I thought, I don't know if I can do that or not. And I did it. And I was so pleased. He was so pleased. And then during those 19 days, as a little wee lad on the Isle of Wight in England, I went and played outside of the hotel, which was my first busking experience, and played this song, Advance to Go, which was the only song I probably knew at the time, the one I'd written. And I played it over and over and over again all day long. Probably got quite a lot of pity money in my case, I dare say. But that was my first inkling that, oh, you can write songs kind of thing, or I can write songs. And then me and a couple of friends, we were having guitar lessons, and we would spend weekends. How weird. Most young boys play football or something like that. But we would spend weekends at my friend Simon's house, and we'd write little songs. And we wrote one about the Titanic, because I think we were learning about it at school at the time, and it was called SOS. And then we wrote another one because unemployment in the UK was at 10% at the time. And
Wow.
yeah, Margaret
How
Thatcher's
punk.
UK. Yeah, Margaret Thatcher's UK. And then we wrote our third song was about being unemployed, which we knew lots about at 11 years old, of course. But, that was about the time where, it was around about the time of, say, The Jam and stuff like that, where Paul Weller was writing about those kinds of things. And I guess that we thought it was cool to write about sort of social issues and stuff like that, So that was where we then went. Yeah, it was great. It was great, and that was my hobby. That was what I did at the time with my mates. We would spend our weekends, and we used to pretend we were on a radio show. We were getting interviewed, and one of us would pretend. It was like make believe kind of thing, and we recorded it all, which is why I've got a bunch of cassettes still of me at 10 or 11 years old doing this stupid shit with my friends. It's great.
Do you know how happy that makes me?
I'm so happy.
It makes me happy to know that, because I did the exact same thing. We had a
Oh,
little
really?
microphone. We'd interview each other, and we had a little front veranda, and we all put Kiss makeup on. And my mum made cardboard guitars and made the cardboard suits. I was Ace Frehley. We had people from this neighborhood come and watch us. And I look back now, if you saw a kid doing that now, everyone would be like, "Is that kid retarded or something?" Like, nothing.
Exactly right. Yeah. Well, they can't say retarded. That's not a word you're allowed to say.
Well, I'm just saying it because, like, I'm a rebel, aren't I? No, I'm not. But no, that's people would say that. They would be like, "Is there something wrong with them? Why are they doing that kind of thing?" And it's like, because that's what people used to do. That's what using your imagination is all about, and exploring these things to become a singer-songwriter or a rock star, and project that kind of stuff. Instead of now, we all just, I don't know, wait for Taylor Swift to do something and then just copy her.
Yeah. I mean, there's always it's great that you should bring up the word copy, isn't it? Because we often creative people, we talk about being creative and AI not being creative. I was having a chat with a friend last night, and I was just saying that I've always basically, I was going to be on this show, and what was I going to talk about? And I was saying, I'm basically just the same as AI. I've got a much smaller pool of music that I've listened to. And every song that I create is like taking all of those influences, and I can't help that, of course. They're all going to come out. Maybe not just other songwriters' influences, it may be other artistic influences, not poets. I don't read poetry. No one reads poetry. No. But, there could be influences from filmmakers or anything like that, potentially. But I actually think that so I've only got a few artists that I'm really inspired by. And there's probably more, but like Billy Bragg, I mentioned him before, lyrics. Delamitri, I love the sound of their music. I'm just a bit of a fanboy there. Radiohead. I was really into a group called Ocean Colour Scene back in the sort of Britpop days. All that stuff. I was into Pulp, Jarvis Cocker and all that. And early before that, I was into, like, in the 80s. I wasn't really an 80s kid at the time, so I was much more into like Suzanne Vega and Tracy Chapman and that more sort of acoustic guitar kind of thing. And so and someone mentioned ABBA. I didn't know I was influenced by ABBA, but I've since discovered I was influenced by ABBA. But my first ever record that I bought was an ABBA record. But anyway, so all of that comes together. There's like 20 artists maximum probably that have really influenced me. Now that's way more powerful than AI that takes gazillions of artists, right? That's actually it's a little bit more focused. And when you take just one or two artists and you blend them together, you get this something a bit more interesting is more likely. Whereas if you take 100 artists and blend them together, you just end up with something very generic.
Yeah,
so
true. And you get an average.
You just get an average.
Yeah, that's why AI is so average, because it is the average of all music. You can hear that definitely 100%. Now, I remember two phases for me. My first song, because I was a metalhead, that's where I started. So I joined my first band when I was like 14, 15 kind of thing. And the first song I wrote was called Day of Judgment, because I knew about nuclear war and everything when I was that young, and it was a real threat, you know. And and when we wrote these songs, and we had a song called Ozone Death and all this stuff, and, you know, the ozone layer was a big thing back. Whatever happened to the ozone layer anyway?
Yeah, right.
So, and then we went into a recording studio, and I'm not going to play all of it, of course, but I've got some of it here.
Oh, boy.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, boy.
It's really, and it's a terrible recording because it was on a cassette, so it's been transferred across. Let me see. I'll turn it down. All right, that's enough. That's so embarrassing. It's ridiculous.
Unfortunately, I couldn't hear it. I don't know. There's something wrong with the sound, so I could only hear it barely.
I had it down pretty low. But the other one I wanted to play was when I first had the guts to play acoustic music. And so I got my first 4-track, and this was the first song I wrote, and it's really weird. It was probably in my early 20s. It's called Photos. It's about dating a girl who blackmails you with photos. So, let's see. I'll play a little bit of it. Anyway, the thing is, the reason I wanted to play those terrible recorded songs, because they're awful. That was on a 4-track on a Tascam, and you can tell I've bounced it back and back and back and back and back to get all those tracks in to have all those multiple vocals, and it sounds terrible. But the reason I wanted to play it is because for how terrible that stuff is and how much I despise it and hate it, you need to write shit songs.
Oh, absolutely. By the way, I couldn't hear. I can't, because through our Zoom call, the sound is not coming through. It's only from your microphone. So I just took that off, and I just listened to it on YouTube through
I think I know why.
iPad.
I've got musician sound on.
Oh, there you go. So I listened to it, but it didn't sound as bad to me as you're making out. Your voice sounded good on it as well, by the way.
I had noise suppression on. Is this better? Hang on.
Oh, yeah. Yes. Oh, there you go.
Sorry about that.
All right.
Yeah, there you go. I forget they got that noise suppression thing on Zoom, and every time you start a new call, they turn it off. It's so stupid.
It's okay, but 4-track was great. Look, I'm so grateful. Now this is a bit of a Rick Beato thing, but it's a little bit more grateful than he comes off as. I'm so grateful that we had to muddle on with technologies like 4-track, which. You know, when I hear people talk about the good old days, when we talk about, when we hear people talk about, back in the days we used to record on tape, I'm always thinking in my mind, oh, what a very elitist conversation this is, because the best tape that I ever recorded on personally was a Fostex 8-track, which was like it's little, what is it, probably 1/4 inch or something.
They're
Tape
cool,
that
though. They're cool.
Right, they're cool. I saw one advertised on Marketplace yesterday for $1,000. I was tempted, but for most of us, tape actually means cassette. We were recording on cassette, and we were
Yes.
bouncing, and the quality was absolutely awful. And although you can get plugins, you know, to make things sound like cassettes, it's an effect, right? It's not the same as tape saturation plugins, which are representing the saturation you got on you know 24 track, you know, 1-inch tape or something like this, or it's, you know, nobody desires that sound really. That's the beginning.
I still don't understand this whole thing of going back and making stuff sound old and shit. It's
getting a bit tedious, isn't it?
I get it for certain styles of music. I do get it for like, you know, kind of. I don't even hang on. I don't. What am I saying? No.
Hey, well, let me steal something from no, I did not steal. I came up with this idea myself. It was born out of another idea. But I was thinking to myself the other day, if somebody came to you and said, look, got this new door coming out, right? But the thing with this new door is, well, there's only 24 tracks on this door. It's not unlimited or anything like that, you know. And if you want to actually sort of cut anything, well, you can't cut and paste things in this door. All right, it's a bit limited in that way. And you know, you actually have to wait a few seconds if you want to go back to the beginning of the track and start again, you know. And they went on like this, and you go, that's a crap door, isn't it? Like, no one's going to buy that door. And you go, yeah, that's recording up until the 1990s. That was the door. It was. Now I've got to be careful here, because I do believe that limitations can be very effective for creativity. So I don't want to say, oh, it was bad just because you could. But the reality is, we're always talking about the old days, aren't we? God, why are we always talking about the old days? But anyway, and then there's this idea of everything was so much better. But the fact, if it was all so much better, there would have been no need for the new technologies that came along, because they all came along as a reaction to, oh, this is a bit of a pain in the ass, isn't it? Having to get a razor blade out to cut bits of tape. Right, no one wants to do that. We might be fascinated by the fact that people could do it and do it so efficiently, but no one wants to do that. And it's just rubbish, isn't it? Look,
everything's just rubbish.
Well, it's 6 o'clock in the morning. Everything's rubbish.
That's the point of technology, though. Technology is meant to make everything easier. That is what that's what its role is. It's not meant to it's not meant to change music. I think it's not meant to like take away, and this is where AI, again, we're going to probably go back to this so many times. That's taking music away from you. And technology is supposed to like give you the tools to make music more conveniently. So you still write stuff, you still make stuff, but it's easier to do it. That's how I feel about it. And that's why I love so many great apps that come out that allow you to do that, allow you to do the things that, you know, even though a saturator or some kind of app that makes it sound like the 1970s, you might go, why would I want to go back? But you might need that for that song. I don't know.
Yeah, sure.
You may do. And to be able to just know it's there, that's incredible. That's really cool. And the whole splicing of tape, that's brilliant. But yeah, it's...
Until you had to actually do it, isn't it? If someone said, look...
fuck that.
Look, Apple have said with GarageBand now, right? Hey, you can't just do copy and paste. You're not allowed to do that anymore. We've removed that feature. Yeah, because everyone wants to go back in time, right? They'd say, and everyone would go, no, we don't want to go that far back in fucking time, Apple. we want to be able to copy and paste, right? So it wasn't all good. It wasn't all fun. And there was some noise. There was quite a lot of noise, which was good. I should say distortion. There was a lot of types of distortion of audio, which turned out to be okay, not on purpose, They didn't do that on purpose. They didn't design the circuits so that they would distort in a pleasing way. It just was a happy accident.
Exactly. Yeah.
Right. And that was cool. And for sure, once you turn everything into ones and zeros, then there are certain things that get lost, and we don't need to keep going on about it. You just get a saturator, okay? Just get a saturator, chuck it on there. But I don't mind it so much. It's just that in some ways it gets in the way of us progressing further into what sounds are we going to discover which represent now.
Yeah.
In human recording history. Anyway, we're off the topic of songwriting.
No. It's perfect because it leads into it. Because this leads into, you can have all this shit, right? You can surround yourself with every plugin, every single latest piece of technology you can. But if you can't write a song, it's gonna be shit. Mike, what is the basics? What is songwriting? All right.
Well,
see you later. You enjoy. Have fun.
I belong to this really terrible and annoying Facebook group called Songwriters.
Again, this is the second time. The second time you've shit on.
They're all caps as well. That offends me, the fact that their group name is all caps. It's almost like Songwriters. Calm down. Right? And I swear, I don't know who moderates it, but I wish they would do their job. But I have a love-hate relationship for it. The people in there are very pleasant to me. I post my songs in there and everyone's, oh, you're fantastic, you're fantastic. But there's a lot of talk in there about songwriting. But no, there isn't a lot of talk about songwriting. I'll tell you what bothers me about it, and it's where songwriting is sometimes at, is that there's a lot of talk about making money out of songs in that group. And how do I make money out of it, right?
That's a great joke.
Yeah, exactly. That for a start. So there's still a lot of dewy-eyed people out there going, oh, I'm just going to write this great song and I'm going to become a millionaire, And that's led to a rise, of course, in people that are either haven't got any talent or are semi-talented to go, well, I'll just write AI songs and I'll sell those and no one's going to notice the difference. Because not only can they not write songs, they have no way apparently of determining the difference between a good and a bad song. Yeah. So that's not a good start if you're going to be a songwriter, if you can't determine those. And like good and bad, I've got to be careful with these terms because it's all a little bit subjective. However, what did you say? What is a song? Well, I'll tell you what a song isn't.
What's good? What's songwriting? What is it?
So the reason I brought up that group is because there's quite a lot of people in there. They write lyrics, and I've tried to have this debate with them, and they come in there and say, "Oh, I've written these lyrics. Can someone put some music to it?" And they call themselves songwriters, and I say, with the greatest of respect, you're not a songwriter. You're a lyricist, and there's nothing wrong with that. You want to be a lyricist. That's great. But while there's words by them all by themselves, they're poems as far as I'm concerned.
That's exactly what I was going to say. You're a poet and you don't know it.
Right. So put some music to it. Now, other people write music and are rubbish at writing lyrics, and they're composers. And that's also, but songwriting occupies this lovely little niche if you are a songwriter where you do both parts of that equation. It's almost difficult to explain. In fact, when you first start learning to do it, as we did when we were young, you don't know what you're doing. You don't understand the skills involved. You're just sort of emulating people you've heard before and all that sort of stuff. But it turns out there's a few elements to it which are really, really important, such as, Jade, I'll throw it over to you. What do you reckon is really important about?
You know what? Firstly, I think life experience.
Oh, that's a good one. That's very, very good. Yeah.
Because I look back at all my old songs, be it metal or, when I started my journey writing acoustic stuff, like, as I said, that first song I showed, it's called Judgment Day. And a lot of my old songs I used to write in the metal bands, they had no fucking meaning. They were just like, oh, here's a subject, write about it. Here's a subject. And then when I picked up an acoustic because people were telling me for years, you can sing and you're wasting your time doing that heavy metal shit. I was like, yeah, one day I'll pick up an acoustic. And as soon as I picked it up, I was old enough to have lived and had love and had rejection and had all these things happen in my life and lost people in my life. So I was able to actually write stuff that went with, you know, and the music became second fiddle. It was like, oh, I can write a song with 4 chords. Because Willie Nelson's got millions of them, right? Apparently, I don't know. No, but and the lyrics are important, and the song, the chords, as long as they make sense, they're in the scale. That's okay. That's good. That's a song. Like you don't need to be technical all the time and show off all the time. And yeah, life experience really helped me write songs. What about you, Mike?
Well, yeah, I think you've got to have something to say. So I'm a little suspicious of people who sort of churn out a song every day, you know. I think if you were to churn out a song every September and maybe some for some other months of the year as well, I think that's good. I think it's pretty good. I mean, I sometimes I've gone through periods where I don't write songs because I don't have much to say about life. You know,
Sure.
I'm just cruising along. I'll tell you one thing that's been really helpful is since after I met Susie and then I had another instrument to write for, being a female first of all, and a different voice. That has really been a great experience because I'm sometimes writing songs from a female perspective, and I don't know if anyone's noticed, I'm not a female, but it's really interesting to put yourself in the perspective of another person, exercise that sort of empathy that hopefully you've got in yourself to see something from another standpoint. I found that really, yeah, really uplifting actually, this later on in my life, you know, when you feel like, oh, I haven't got anything else to say. And you say, oh, I'll speak for other people then.
It's interesting you say that because most of the best songwriters in the world, we don't know them by a household name. They have written some of the best songs in the world for some of the biggest artists. And without those songwriters, maybe those artists wouldn't be who they are today. So you know, clearly songwriting is definitely a craft, and writing for other. I agree with exactly what you said. I'm writing a song during this song tempo. I'm trying my hand at jazz. Never done it before in my life. It's coming out on okay, but I'm writing the song for the woman Viv Sparrow who's going to sing with me. And I'm writing from my experience of when I interviewed her and how I know her as a friend, and I'm writing it about her and about me. So I'm creating something for her, and it's been beautiful.
I'd strongly encourage if for people get the opportunity, beyond the actual lyric component of it and maybe the emotional component of writing from someone else's perspective, to write for someone else's voice, which not only has a different range than your own, but has different strengths and weaknesses, right? And that's a very inspiring thing. And this is the thing about songwriting, which is so very fascinating. We could do a whole show on lyrics, couldn't we? Right?
Yes, and we probably will at some
and we
stage.
should do, because I'm a lyrics guy. But I was thinking about this a little bit yesterday, and I was thinking, you know, but am I a lyrics guy? What's the famous movie with Jack Nicholson where he's in the courtroom? What does he say? What's the most famous line? He says, the truth, you can't handle the truth, you know?
Yep.
And when you think about it, first of all, if he'd gone, oh, you're not very interested in the reality of the situation, are you? That wouldn't be very lyrical, would it? It wouldn't land in the same way, right? So yes, lyrics are important in that way. It's almost like a punchline. You deliver them with a particular phrase, and you'll get a lot more meaning over to people than if you are very literal, if you just say things perhaps just in the way you talk. Now, there are some lyricists who write in a very authentic way, as if it's a conversation, but I think it's a pseudo-authenticism. I just created that term. But, you know, so there's that. But then when you think about that movie scene, right, he's not just saying the line, he's supported by a costume which looks authentic. He's got certain facial expressions. There's lighting, there's camera angles, there's the point where that line sits in terms of the rest of the movie, and bang, he delivers that line and it has an impact on people for whatever reason. So the lights and camera and all that to me is like the chords and the rhythm and the production of the song somewhat. I don't want to bring production into songwriting too much, but the arrangement perhaps is a better thing to talk about in that sense, right? And it's all going to support that lyric, and bang, and hopefully if you get all that right and all the planets align, then something resonates and people hear it and they go, yeah, I like that bit. Oh, whoa, yeah. It's great, isn't it? When you discover a song that you love, it doesn't matter. I mean, it does matter how many times you listen to it, but I've listened to some songs hundreds and hundreds of times, and there'll be a particular line in there or a couple of lines, and every single time it still gets me. And oh, how wonderful is that? I want to write things like that here and there.
Yeah, it's a beautiful thing about music. Look, on lyrics, we're talking about lyrics saying, if there's no music, it's poetry. But I'll tell you what, they're not lyrics. I mean, if you write lyrics that have no music, yeah, it's poetry, but then you add music to it and it's lyrics to music. But if it has a fucking shit melody, it's just lyrics.
Yeah, that's the thing, isn't it? Is that, you can take, let's say, a phrase in my song, which is like, Jade, you look sensational today. And if I go, Jade, you look sensational today, right? It's different to if I go, Jade, you look sensational today.
Which is what AI does. That's what AI does. It has no idea about melody and phrasing.
Yeah, it doesn't. That's right.
It's screwed.
So it's probably a little bit like comedians talk about timing, right, of jokes, and when you land that, right? And so whether you go to a higher note or a lower note in the melody, it makes a massive difference in the way that lyric is delivered. So if you're working very generically or just sort of borrowing things too much, I don't know. I don't know if this comes across, because I'm sure people listen to my music and think it's as boring as shit. But at certain times when I'm writing a song, there's at least one moment where I'll go, oh, it's expected that it's going to go there, so I want to go there.
Yeah.
Right? Because there's that element of I've got to jar that listener out of being too much in their comfort zone. And I don't write avant-garde music or anything, but there's always got to be some element of where can I go to sort of deliver that message so it hits home a little bit.
Yeah, it's tough because you hear this all the time. Write music for yourself. But you might be quite content to have a verse that drones on for, 4 minutes.
Yeah.
But ultimately, you have to consider the listener as well, to some degree, to do exactly what you said, to pick people up. It's like a movie. If the pacing of a movie sucks, then the movie's doomed, right? If the second act, it just drags and it gets to that end, you're like, wow, I had to sit through all that to get to this end. And really, was it worth it? And people remember that middle dragging bit. And this is what happens with songwriting. How long is too long? I struggle with this one a lot, right? Because you come up with a great verse that leads into the chorus, and then you go, you know what? We'll just have 2 bars here without any music, and then you listen to the song and go, shit, the song's 7 minutes.
Yeah. I really struggle with this idea of things length of time and too long. And sometimes us YouTubers talk about, or not so much now, but I've had conversations with people who say, oh, the ideal YouTube video is 8 minutes long, or whatever
for monetization.
For monetization there, because you don't get monetized until it's 8.
Exactly.
But and then I've heard even some YouTubers that I really respect, say things in videos like, oh, you've got to get to the chorus within 30 seconds these days, people, and all these kind of formulas about it. And then And then all of the really forgettable artists follow all those formulas, and then all the unique artists that everyone actually loves and talks about, they always break all of those formulas,
Absolutely.
So I just think that it's not about we're always looking for simple solutions, aren't we? We're always looking, what chords did the Beatles use, and if we just use the same chords as them, we'll be the Beatles. It's all rubbish. All those formulas are all rubbish, right? Forget it. You just what makes how long it is irrelevant. It's how interesting it is for that length of time.
Yes.
Yes, so you can write a really boring 30-second song if you like, which you can write a really interesting 20-minute song. And I lament the fact that I don't think that people have changed. I think that people who promote music have gone for, the lowest common denominator, and they always assume the general public are dumb and have short attention spans. I don't think that's true whatsoever. Some of my most popular videos on my YouTube channel, for example, are 40 minutes long.
True.
And it breaks the rules. But when I'm making it, I think that's how long it needs to be for me to explain it. Now, if it's 40 minutes long, because at the beginning of the video I went, "Hey folks, how are you today? I will talk about quantizing in a moment. But before we do, thanks for subscribing to the channel. And I was out on the weekend with my wife and right? Yeah, then you're taking the piss sort of thing. But and the songwriting's a little bit like that, maybe.
You talk about like this shortened. Let's be honest. We're talking about TikTok, right? Because now there's this concept out there that that people on TikTok don't have much attention span. They're a little bit goldfishy.
Yeah.
And you can say that's true, or that I think a lot of people on TikTok like to cut corners, and they think, hey, I can make something of myself, especially creators, big people who want to make something of themselves on TikTok. I can make something really short and easy, and it's a quick way to success. Now, is that necessarily bad? I don't think that's bad. But do you want to make music for that crowd? Like that, you've got the choice to make music for that crowd. So you can get upset about it and go, music, the attention span's getting... No, or just like don't make music for those cockheads.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's the same way I feel as a YouTuber. I've tried to do bits of TikTok, right? I've gone there and it's like, if I'm ever feeling like that, then it's a sign that I shouldn't be doing it, right?
Yeah. I'm the same. I open TikTok and go, why are they telling people to go to the bank and put in a fake check and then go to your Chase or teller and pull the money out? Now there's like all these people that are $40,000 in debt.
No, I get it a lot because I use old man's TikTok, which is Reels on Facebook. Right. That's old man's TikTok.
Is that still a thing?
That's what all the middle-aged kids are doing. I'm not even maybe I'm middle-aged, but So I get it. I can sit there in bed and flick, especially comedy videos. Absolutely love them. Gets me going. But but for me, it doesn't work as a medium. It just doesn't sit with what I do because I like to talk a lot for a long time, as people could tell. So do what you do in that way. It's about being happy in life. It's not about being successful. It's about being happy, which is quite a different thing at times, So anyway, songwriting. Well, on that note, let's say hello to folks. Now, I've left it for a while to let people stroll in here because Pete John.
I just like letting people have a chat and hang out while we just natter on. Like, as I said, this started out as just a bloody collection of phone calls, and now you're just listening into our idiotic phone calls that we have, yeah? So Jenny Jolivet's here. Thomas Christ is working hard as usual. Hugh Caldwell. We've got Pete Johns, the man behind Songtember. And Tremor Bear's in the house. Doug Kidder's here. We got Jamie Melander, the dude himself. We've got Keonra Music, who's going through her Songtember song as well and kicking it out the park, which is fantastic to see. I'm watching Keonra. I'm just not chatting, as usual. Take Two drum covers. Welcome. If I've missed you, I can only go so far with my scrolling. Type something and then I can call your name out. Ed Zielinski, who's weighing in heavily here. It's incredibly important to establish your musical identity and taste by listening to a lot of music, or you'll be in a sea of sounds and choices. Yes. So let me, Gordon Lee Weaver.
There's a really interesting comment here from Take Two Drum Covers. Why does it need to be something super deep? Why not something that was right in your face hours or moments ago? I'm not sure if that's in relating to another comment, but I must say I'm really totally in agreement with this. I tend to talk about songwriting from a deeper meaningful perspective, but I'm quite aware that there's a vast range of other emotions outside of that, and some music is supposed to be something that will tap your foot to, for example, or make you want to boogie for the night. And I think it's equally as valid, because happiness is a really important human emotion. Boogie, I know, what a great word. Boogie. Boogie on down. Right, so yeah, or maybe it's something that's funny. There's lots of comedy music, which is also really relevant. There's lots of really angry music, which doesn't contain much wisdom in it, and that's also completely sort of relevant. So I wouldn't, when we talk about quality songwriting and quality lyrics, I wouldn't say that that means they have to be sophisticated in some way. There's certain songs which are probably quite cheesy, cheap lyrics, we might call them, but they might be absolutely perfect for whatever they're trying to achieve. What can I think of as an example? Baby, baby, baby. What was that song by Justin Bieber?
I think it's called Baby.
I think it was called Baby, wasn't it? The lyrics, can't quite remember all of them, but there was definitely baby, baby,
baby, baby. Oh yeah.
Ooh.
Oh baby, baby, baby.
Yeah.
Well, I agree. Look, I play in death metal bands. I've got songs in FMC called Wank Snot Sandwich. Right? It's ridiculous. It's a smutty limerick that makes absolutely no sense whatsoever. It's childish. It's ridiculous. For Songtember, so I'm doing this jazz song, but I'm next week starting and work on another song, a death metal song, where I'm going to get people to send in recordings of their cats and dogs, and I'm going to take those samples and make the dogs and cats sing over the top of the death metal, right? Because you know what? There are no rules. Songwriting can be anything, and because I want to raise all money for all of the dogs and cats that are being eaten at the moment in the USA.
Where is it? In Springfield, isn't it? Or something like that.
All those Haitians, apparently.
All those Haitians. I'll tell you, they've got a healthy appetite, those Haitians, haven't they?
Oh, they sure do, It's hard work coming into Springfield, getting all those jobs that needed to be filled, and then having to eat dogs to keep up your
Good job then. Good job there's not many Haitians in Australia, hey? Kangaroos would be in a lot of trouble. Hey?
Man, what is happening in the world at the moment? I can't even. I got to switch off.
Yes, do.
Yeah. Songwriting. So look, songwriting doesn't have to be lovey-dovey. It doesn't have to be deep. No. It can be whatever you want it to be.
No.
It can be ridiculous. It can be stupid, silly, funny, whatever. And
I'll tell you what though.
Yes.
I recommend to anyone once in their life, and I would say that most of us have only got it in us once or twice in their life, to be really authentic. Like super authentic, write something that exposes you a little bit. I think I've written one, but it's a good place to go. It's a place of strength if you can do it, and it will probably be the best song you've ever written if you do that. That's the only thing I'm going to say. Whatever your thing is, whether it's something that happened to you in the past or something about the way you are, all that difficult stuff that you don't normally want to bring up in polite conversation. If you can get that into a song, then you'll probably write a fantastic song, regardless of the technical skills that were involved in writing the lyrics or the music. That will all then go out of the window, because there's certain things that if you write them authentically, as it really is, that will resonate with people, and people will be grateful that you wrote it. That's my opinion.
Anyway. I agree.
Yeah.
And I've been, look, one of the things that I'm most proud of with my songwriting is, so before I came out as trans, I buried a lot of stuff in my life, who I really was. So there was this act all the time of, I'm tough, I'm a metalhead, I've got tats and piercings, and you create a protective shell. So the lyrics I wrote were bullshit. And as soon as I came out and Dread Circus became Jade, Starr, Dread Circus, everything I've written in Dread Circus is very like, you're getting everything, man. Like truth, do what makes you happy. All the song Me and My Brain about, the battle with shit in my brain. I write so much so that while I'm writing this stuff, I'm bawling because I'm having I have had so much more success writing stuff like that than going to a psychiatrist. Because you are confronting these demons, and the thing is, when you put this stuff out, other people are feeling this shit.
Yeah, that's what it's all about.
Yeah,
and
and
really what it's all
you
about.
can't lose with stuff like that, especially with pop music or acoustic music or, that kind of stuff. You're not going to write that in a death metal song. You're going to write, my feelings and this and that. You can. It's probably not going to interest anybody, but it's one of the things I aspire to. And now I've set this bar so high for myself that every song has to be that. Luckily, I'm an emotional windbag full of pain and suffering. So it does come naturally these days. And that's going to lead me into playing the next song. So, because we got a couple of songs of yours today, but I want to play one of mine in the middle of the show, and then we'll come back, run our ad. So now, folks, I just need to say before, which one should I play? Should I play the acoustic version? Yeah, I don't know. I'll play this one. I don't even know what this is. It's an acoustic. I think it's an acoustic version. Yeah, all right, let's play this. It's an acoustic version, I think, or me just singing to a backing, and I'll probably screw it all up, but this is the rawness of it. So it's called Truth. We'll be back shortly, folks. Enjoy the music. Let's oja. Justify the greed and endless overbreeding, when 3/4 of our species still need feeding. Slavery rewards its medication to eradicate our feelings. Religious dogma, fear or guilt, or burn in hell for not believing. Stand up, it is never too late to change your life. Just speak the truth and we all can fly. The number 42 is our best answer to validate our meaning. Distracted by the gadgets in our hands, on demand and always streaming. Climate change is killing Mother Earth, her creatures now, the oceans bleeding. The system's fucked in every year, the poverty and the suffering's increasing. Divided left or right, they're lying in plain sight. As we fight, we must unite. You know I'm right, I'm not wrong. The truth is in this song. The truth is in this song. How can anybody everybody. Hate the joy of love between two human beings. Diversity is strength and not a weakness. We should be teaching. Lives become so valueless. Our children die in wars and have no meaning. Blinded by corruption, there's no value in that money that we're seeking. Stand up, it is never too late to change your life. Just speak the truth and we all can fly. Mediocrity is the reality that we're creating. While the social media collects our info to control our want and needed. The truth is lies and now accepted as the truth in our communicated. The system's fucked and no one cares or listens to our words manipulated. Divided left or right, they're lying in plain sight. As we fight, we must unite. You know I'm right, I'm not wrong. The truth is in this song. The truth is in this song. Stand up, it is never too late to speak the truth, and we all can finally be saved to stand up. It is never too late to speak the truth, and we all can finally be free to fly. The truth is like a wrecking ball. It's time to open up all your eyes. It's like a fucking wrecking ball. Love will conquer, truth will destroy all the lies. The truth is like a wrecking ball. Time to open up all your eyes. It's like a fucking wrecking ball. Love will conquer, destroy all the lies. All right, piss off.
Well,
Yeah.
that's the first time I've heard that,
Oh,
and
really?
I really enjoyed it.
Thank
And I was trying to observe myself listening to it. I was trying to be that guy on the wall. It's sort of going, how are you experiencing this song, Mike, for the first time? Because it interests me. Because the first time you listen to a song, there's it's almost you're really in the moment, right? Because you're sort of everything's rushing by you. What was that lyric there? What was that lyric? And what's going on with the music here? So this is a really interesting song in lots of ways because here's my assessment of it. Is that so? There's no there is a sort of a chorus line. It really gets going later on, but there's no traditional chorus like an incredibly repetitive part. So what we've got there is, to me, what makes the song really, really enjoyable for me is the dynamics of the song. It's so important to have dynamics, you know. That feels like a journey. You can never go wrong, really, melody wise, when towards the end of a song you start to get some crescendos going in terms of pitch. Probably when you go up to higher notes and things, there's something. Oh, some of these old tools work because they resonate with us as human beings, right? And when you do the variation, you were singing the wrecking ball part, but then you established the melody, but then you did some variations on it, and there's some more power that comes into there with those higher notes and all that. That all triggers us as human beings. That all triggers us in a sense of, I'm feeling uplifted now. I'm feeling like passionate. Your delivery is really good because you've got a passionate delivery. So that really, really helps.
Thanks.
And then there's lyrics which are going by. And for whatever reason, I've never really figured out the sort of magic of it. But, you know, I might be misquoting you now, but there was a part about streaming, you know, always on demand. And that sort of stood out to me. It got my attention. Oh yeah, I like that. You know, or that says something about life today, you know. And then you're careful, in my opinion, you're probably not contrived, but your careful use of the F word, I can say fuck on your show, you know, and bringing that in, you know, so to say, you know, like a wrecking ball, it's like a fucking wrecking ball. It's an impactful thing to do, you see, and
Sparing.
it's sparing, but it just nails at some point. And I think it had lots of elements in there of why, you know, of what makes songs really interesting to listen to, and the fact that those lyrics are going flying by so quickly that you can't quite catch them usually with most songs. But if there's one or two in there which grabs your attention for whatever reason, I think that's usually going to be enough for people to go, I'm going to have another listen to that. And then they'll absorb a little bit more as well, the subtleties of the lyrics and things.
Thanks, Mike. It's a very dark song, but it like at the same time, it's about truth. And you know what? The truth hurts. And I think that's where we're at this time. We don't want to hear the truth. And sometimes it pays to get hurt, man, and understand, because once you set yourself free with the truth, man, there's no turning back. There's no turning back. Look, songwriting is a joy to me because I get to say the things I want to say that I feel like I can't say here on YouTube. That's what I use it for, you know, because I'm angry. I'm angry, and I want to love. I want to, you know, that's my take on music anyway. But we're going to move on to the major components of a song, and is there a right way to build a song? But before I do it, I have to run my ad, which I should know what I'm doing by now, but I don't because I'm a terrible YouTuber. So where have I put this ad? I have no idea. Oh, there it is. It's here. So I'll run this ad for DistroKid, and then we'll be back and we're going to talk about the components of this song. Let's do this right now. Have I got everything lined up? Yep, I'm good. Just make sure we're... Man, that threw me off. I wasn't going to play that song, but now it's kind of thrown me off. All right,
I'm glad you did.
Let's do it now. Let's Oge. This presentation is proudly sponsored by DistroKid. Introducing DistroKid, your ultimate music distribution solution. For just $29.99 a year, DistroKid empowers you to release unlimited tracks on all major music platforms worldwide, including Spotify, Apple Music, TikTok, and so many more. Plus, use my link distrokid.com/VIP/Jade and get 7% off your first year. You'll also keep 100% of your royalties and gain access to valuable tools like instant verification on Spotify and detailed revenue analytics. Don't let your music go unheard. Join DistroKid today and take your music career to the next level. Thank you, DistroKid, for sponsoring today's presentation. Indeed. Thank you so much, DistroKid, for doing so. I've decided to do a pre-recorded ad because my mouth is a machine gun and I don't want to say anything bad. So I think it's better for all of us. So thank you, DistroKid, for sponsoring the show. So, Mike, when you're putting together a song, what are the elements that you put together for a song? Are they the same each time or do they vary from song to song?
Yeah, it's sort of, I don't really have a method as such. I know some people say, oh, I write the lyrics first and then the music, or I write the music. It usually sort of comes together. So my only method is this. Usually it's going to come about, often, not always, is when I've been fiddling around on the guitar and some mistake happens where my fingers, for whatever reason, go to a different place, or whatever. And I like that. I like that. That sounds nice. And then what I do, it's a weird process. I can't really explain it. I try and empty my mind and see what words appear. That's so strange. It's hard to explain, but I let words just come into my head. Right, I'll be playing ding, like that song, at Wonderland at the beginning. I was just probably just playing that little chord progression, and probably I remember that one. I was just going, and at some point I will go, oh, Wonderland. I don't know why, and I don't know why, but for some reason, then I can get a lyric or one or two lyrics, and although it appears as it happens, it's happened kind of randomly. I'll feel some sort of meaning with those words. They'll be attached with some sort of meaning, and usually the song sort of expands from that in a weird way. Yeah, that's weird methodology. It's like open your mind and let stuff fall in.
Yeah, I agree. I fully identify. I'm sure many other people do. I have songs where I remember I wrote a song when I was at work on my lunch break, and because I was a kitchen hand at the time before I became a chef, and I had to take the tea towels out to the dryers, and I'd have my lunch, put the tea towels in, and I'd take my guitar, and I sat there in front of that dryer just going, I will stand on my own 2 feet and pray. And I'm not even religious. Throwing stones down by the river, because I imagine myself not being in front of that goddamn dryer, instead being in front of a lake, just chucking stones into it. And that song became Throwing Stones. When people ask me what it's about, I go, I think it's about me standing in front of a dryer at work, actually. Like,
That's right.
you would never know that, but that's what it is. Yeah.
Doug was just saying in the chat here. He said, "For me, it's about the syllables; they become musical," and it's very similar to what you're saying and what I was saying there. So one thing that often gets forgotten by people who are really poets rather than songwriters and lyricists, for songs, is the sound of the words themselves are really, really important. And I don't really know what the technical reasons for that are, but I think certain vowels at certain times sound good with the human voice, and certain consonants in certain places, consonants in certain places.
Consonants.
Consonants even.
Is it?
I think it's constant. I can't say it either way. Doesn't matter. But certain things about, I remember people talking about this with J.R.R. Tolkien, that not only had he learned many, many languages before he wrote Silmarillion and Lord of the Rings, of course, and all that, but he was really into the sound of words, specific sounds of words. And I sort of feel that some words are more musical than others. And I think it's really important if you're just starting out with songwriting to understand that. Yes, we live in a world where rhymes are somewhat important. They don't have to be present in songs, but we live in a culture of songwriting where rhymes are used. Somebody mentioned this earlier about John Lennon's methodology for songwriting, say what you mean and make it rhyme and put a backbeat to it. So, they're not a necessity, but we kind of somewhat expect them in most forms of music that we listen to. But then beyond that, the actual words that you use, if they sound, and that's why sometimes when I'm writing songs, if I'm thinking of rhymes, I'll sort of think, like, I know the third line of the song is going to end in this word. So I want to come up with a meaning which is going to build up to that line, where hopefully there's a kind of something approaching a rhyme. Sometimes, so I'm almost backtracking. Like, I've got the third line. Now I know the first line's going to sort of somewhat rhyme with it or sound similar or rhythmically fit with it. So then I go back, and that's a really good fun part about songwriting, because then you have to kind of rewrite that bit. You go, I can't make it work because the bit before's not going to work then. So you have to go can't use that word then. I'm going to have to think of another word. You have to become a little bit of a thesaurus as a songwriter to think of alternative words for the one you were going to use. I love your tongue coming out there. It's a cheeky little look you've got on your face there.
I'm thinking deliciously of rhyming. On rhyming, have you ever used one of those websites where you just go put it, the rhyme websites where you just put in a word and then it gives you a whole heap of words that rhyme with it?
Yeah,
I've used those sometimes because
I've tried to use them, but just not very often come up with something that was useful to me. But all of these things, whether you do that or whether you go to, AI, ChatGTP or something like that, even if you don't end up using the results from them, they sort of tend to stimulate you in some way, and you can find solutions or talking to a friend or, oh, we don't do that anymore, but we talk, but I find all of this really fun. I've written songs since I was 10 years old. I'm 56 now, and I still don't really understand what I do in so many ways.
That's it, isn't it? That is it. Like I've said this before. When I used to do the interviews here on the show, I'd play a song and then come back from the song and go, "That's an awesome song. Tell us what it's about and how you." And I've stopped doing it because, firstly, I know from myself how many times I've been burnt from other interviews, or I've seen and I'm watching this interview going, I love this artist so much and I love all their songs. And then they go, that song that you love, Jade, that's not about what you thought it was. And I go, fuck, you've ruined everything. That's it. So I don't ask that anymore because you got the possibility of ruining somebody's experience with it and their attachment to it. It's a very hard line to walk. I
remember there's this good West Australian songwriter called Jason Horrobin, who used to write years ago, and he wrote about sort of men's perspective in the modern world. And I didn't realise at the time he'd written this collection of songs, which I would hear him sing at open mic nights and stuff like that. And he was actually writing them for a musical about the Aussie men's experience anyway, but I didn't know that at the time. And he came round to my studio one day and we were going to do some recording, and I said, I love your songs. Like the perspective you write, like you're really revealing a lot about yourself in your music. And he went, oh no, it's not about me. It's about this character in this musical that I'm writing. And it broke me. I couldn't, after that, I was like, oh, really?
Yeah, it sucks.
Yeah, I wish I'd asked you. I wish I hadn't talked to you about it now. I wish I could just enjoy listening to the song thinking it was really authentic.
Because once you've heard that, you can't unhear it. It sucks.
Yeah.
Pete John says, songwriting are like driving. Sometimes you just do it on autopilot. Slightly safer to drink and song, right, though. Yeah, absolutely.
Well, there is, but going back to the thing about my methodology about rhyming, is what I like about that is it's almost like a way of getting a happy accident, but it's not quite an accident because we're a little bit constrained by the idea, or I am. I should make it rhyme here. I'd like it to rhyme here. And we can't quite get the words to fit. Sometimes we come up with a slightly different meaning, and it wasn't the one we really intended. But sometimes it's a better meaning than the one we intended.
Yes.
Right? So, it's, again, constraints force you. Sometimes you go, I didn't really mean to say that, but that sounds cool.
I need to update because that leads me into something that I forgot to put down. Let me just put that there. Now, I don't have a specific way I write songs. In fact, if I think it's starting to sound too formulaic, I will go completely in the opposite direction because that's just me. I've always been that way. I don't like the system. I don't like following rules. I've always been that way. And it's interesting. I don't have, I hear this discussion. Let's bring him up. Rick Beato, let's bring him. He's got to be brought up at least once on these shows. Yeah. He seems to say that we're missing middle eights and stuff and things like this, or a key change at the end of the song. Is the key change dead in the water? Do we need a middle eight? Does all this stuff, is it important? Does it change shit, or
it's
a
bit like our conversation about the old days, and how recording was better when it was analog and all that, and the reality of it, most of it was a pain in the ass that we needed to change. So I somewhat agree with him, just from my own perspective, because those things excite me in music. Not so much key changes, but unexpected rhythm changes. And I sort of slightly missed the solo, guitar solo, piano solo, sax solo, even the occasional drum solo if it was Buddy Rich or something. But at the same time, the reason some of those things disappeared is because key changes were done to death in the 80s.
They were.
And so they became so predictable in themselves that it was like, stop doing those. And then sometimes, not always, but sometimes guitar solos got a little bit wanky, didn't they? And it was like, yeah, this was about this guy's ego, not about what I'm hearing.
Ingve
You know.
Malmsteen.
Right, so yes. And then sometimes intros went on a little bit too long, and let's cut to the chase here. So I think there was a bit I'm just saying that it was a lot of these things were tossed aside as a little bit of a reaction of they got abused a little bit. But I think they'll come back. Yeah, I just think it's cycles. I just think it's cycles. I don't stress about it as much as Rick does. I always, when people talk about the old days, I always kind of want to go, yeah, you're sort of choosing where you go back to, aren't you? Because you're going back to sort of Sergeant Pepper or something like that. But let's go back to Chuck Berry and Elvis Presley and, Jerry Lee Lewis. And they were all writing 12 bars, sped up 12-bar blueses with the same 3 chords. No, not so much key changes. They were using exactly the same chord pattern for every song, more or less, right? And so you're just choosing how far back you go and what point you stop and say, well, that was the best point. Now, what they did have tremendously, though, was an incredible amount of energy. I mean, just go back and watch, I don't know, Little Richard playing Tutti Frutti or something. You go, oh, God, there's some energy going on there. Tremendous,
Yeah.
It's crazy. But, But to me, it's a little bit like, because those people, that was a different perspective, because they were coming from a cultural perspective entirely. Supposedly, I don't know because I wasn't there, but obviously, Black Americans' experience at that time rooted in blues and all that sort of stuff. Or maybe it was about teenage rebellion, which supposedly, first of all, came out in the 1950s and what have you. So the music didn't need to be sophisticated. It had to have the energy they wanted to have it, and so I think I've said it before, but so when my son listens to a lot of rap, all different kinds of rap, and he plays it to me, what I get from that is it's not supposed to have key changes and be he's not interested in that. He's interested in the fact that probably the rap artist said some things that he's not supposed to say in polite conversation, and he said it pretty brutally, right? And that's what they're getting off on. They don't give a stuff where's the key change or a middle 8 or a sax solo. That's not why they're listening to it. And I think that's the problem. We'll call it Rick's perspective, but that's a little bit of a problem of a musician's perspective, right? It's never ever fall into the trap. By the way, if you're performing, never think about those 5 musicians standing at the back of the room saying, oh, I could have done that. Whatever.
Fuck them.
Never do that. Never write songs for people who say, oh, you should have a key change, or don't do that. That's just write the way you want to write, and I like to write for ordinary people who don't know anything about music. I just sort of like to aim. If I've got a target, I'd prefer to go with them a little bit, So I'm never going to impress actual musicians in that way.
The Arms Crossed Brigade at the back of the
gig.
Yeah.
It's just,
this sucks.
Yeah, exactly.
I love them. Mike, how much luck is involved in songwriting, do you think?
Oh well, hopefully lots. I love the lucky part of it. I love the lucky part of it. Yeah. Oh, that's where everything is, in the luck, in the bit that you didn't predetermine. That's where all the good songs come from. As I say, it's one of the reasons why, if you're, for example, a guitar player, if you can at least just knock out a few chords on piano or something, it's a really good and fun thing to do because we've got lots and lots of muscle memory as guitar players. I'm sure other instrumentalists do. So we tend to then go to the same few chords that our fingers always want to go to.
Yep.
And then you don't have that frame of reference on a strange instrument. So when you then, for me, like going to piano, I'm going like, okay, I know just enough to actually play something on this, but there's no muscle memory here, So, ding, oh, hang on. That sounded good. I hit the wrong thing, there. So, yeah, I love that part of it. And, yeah, I guess it can happen with lyrics as well. But for me, that's that process again of just open my mind and let words fall in. And then I'll figure out what the meaning of them is afterwards. But it somehow relate to my life experience and something I feel qualified to sing about, I suppose. And
I have a heap of songs in previous bands. One of my bands, Despised, which I was in for many years, like 6 or 7 years, we released a bunch of CDs and we toured with a lot of big bands. And there's songs we have out on demo tapes that every time I hear this specific bit in it, because we used to record our demos as a whole band together. We'd all play live in the studio and then I'd do vocals over the top. And there's something about that when you've written a song and you play together that you can't, it's like double tracking vocals. Sometimes when you double track vocals, there's just this difference in the take that creates this thing that you go, oh, what is that? We used to do this in Despised all the time. Somehow we'd go back and listen, and this drum roll where everybody had their little parts together, it just created this wall of frequency that even now, goosebumps just thinking about it. And it's just, it's this much of the song. It's nothing, but every time I hear it, I go, oh, and I'm sure nobody else on the planet who's heard that song has gone, oh, that's a really good bit. I get goosebumps from that.
Yeah.
That's the luck. That's the stuff that you can't force.
Stuff. That happens you're talking about the performance element of it somewhat there, but it's still true of the actual songwriting. And it's one of the things that it's
a product of
when I see these keyboard warriors, and one of the things that pisses me off, usually it's when I'm talking, a good example would be pitch correction. And in fact, I'm making a video at the moment today after this about Melodyne. I love Melodyne. I really love it. And I don't use it in a sense of first of all, people get it confused with auto-tune, so it's a completely different beast. This is like manually going in and going, I'll just lift that one up a bit. But the reason, the thing that pees me off is when people go, well, a good singer or a good, just get the singer to come back and sing it again. And you go, that's because you think singing's about notes and words, don't you? But the reason I'm prepared to Melodyne that is because when Susie sung that line, there was just like a little thing in her voice there when she sung that particular word there. And I know I could get her to come in and sing that 100 more times and she's never going to repeat what she did in that moment.
Yeah.
Right. And she didn't contrive it. She's just in that moment, and there's a little happy mistake about a little croak, and it could be a phrasing, it could be anything that you do in that moment. So in this case, if you're going, well, she had a little crack in her voice, but unfortunately she was also a little bit pitchy. Right. I might go, I might just grab Melodyne and bing. People might say, well, Freddie Mercury didn't need to do it. Well, maybe he would have done if he'd had Melodyne.
Sure.
But he didn't have it. So, but I digress. I just think that what that represents to me is that in the recording process, this is the wonderful, beautiful thing about life is that things will just happen sometimes that we can't actually create. I think sometimes there's some magic involved. I'm not into that kind of thing, but I do think there's some sort of magic involved. And I sort of do believe that music is the last magic that us human beings possess, real magic, in the way that it happens and the way it comes about and the way it affects us, and we want to be a little bit careful not to pick it apart too much and too much.
Yeah, absolutely. Right? Look, I think we got confused as a species on the way, and this thing that we're doing, this talking, this language thing, this is where we got it wrong. Like the talking thing should be the entertainment for us, where we sit back and go, oh, listen to that. It's got nothing on this thing that we communicate with, because it, clearly, like if you go back, let's go back to cavemen, Neanderthals, you know, you could probably draw on a wall with some kind of rock or something. So there's art, but music would have been the first thing, that rhythmic thing that you would have, even if it was banging things together, or because we've got voice. It came far before creating language, because you can sing it. There are songs out there that are huge and have been #1 hits that go do 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 da 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 in the chorus. So there's proof of that. Words sometimes don't really matter. But you're right. Over examining songwriting, it can be pointless. So see you later, everybody. Bye.
I mean, I guess with anything, you know, a few years ago, I don't know, I got a little bit into, you know, what happens with people in the process of falling in love, you know, and what happens chemically and all that sort of stuff. And, you know, and then you can come to the conclusion, and in some ways, that the act of falling in love is simply Mother Nature's wonderful and creative way to get us to fuck, basically, right? Right, and you can bring it all down to that and go, oh, it's all about reproduction here and continuation of the species. I love the fact that I can shock you. I love the fact that I can shock you.
You haven't shocked me. I just think that's funny as fuck. It's hilarious.
Right, but there's probably
that's, you got to put that on you. That's a quote.
Yeah. So you can do that, and you can go, all right, you know, so I can pick that apart, and I can and that can explain why I feel all these feelings, you know. But then at a certain point, I went, I don't think I want to pursue this any further, because I don't want to be in that moment where I'm snogging Susie and be thinking, I made it. No, I don't want to go.
I wonder what this would be like in a song.
Yeah, yeah, that's right. So, you know, you want to be in the moment with life and sort of enjoy those precious things in life which make us human. Otherwise, sort of, what's the point? And if you pick it apart, I think there is a lyric by Billy Bragg, one of my favorite. You know, he says, you know, I'm going to misquote him, but, you know, be careful by taking these things apart, because you can't put them back together again.
True.
You know, and so the only thing I feel about songwriting is, in these types of conversations, is that particularly for people who have started out, like, you know, they're excited and they go, I want to write songs. I've done this a bit and I want to be a songwriter, for whatever motivations they may have to do that. There's an awful temptation always with us of going, if I analyze what other successful people do and replicate that, then I will also be successful. This word success comes into it for a start, which is a very long journey to get to the end of and find out it was all bollocks.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
short.
exactly. We're saving you all time now. It's it's bullshit.
It's bollocks. So yeah, and they won't make any difference. We'll tell you that, and it will make no difference to you whatsoever, 17-year-old who's not watching this show. So first of all, you've got to try and separate success. What does success mean? Blah, blah, blah. All right. And usually we think of financial, you know, career success, but then there's another sort of success, which is will my songs resonate with people? Even if I play it to my friends, will it move them in some way? That's a nicer level, a nicer type of success, I think, to aim for. In the sense of it's a bit more fulfilling in the long term to aim for that and achieve it once in a while. But yeah, because we always want shortcuts, right? So whether it's songwriting or whether it's music production, you know, what I teach about on my channel mostly, people are going, or what compressor does Chris or Lord Algie use? So therefore, if I use the same compressor as him, then I'll get the same results, and I'll be a success. And people will want to interview me, and I'll have plugins named after me.
Is that what you really want?
Is that what you want in your life?
The Mike
Plugins
Enjo
named
saturator? Mike Enjo's tape hiss.
Yes, that's right.
I'd buy that for $1.
Sample that. I should sample that. So, so I digress a little bit, but you know, in some ways, you know, sure, be inspired by people, listen to some of your favorite artists, have a look at what they're doing, but they don't really work. None of it really works.
No.
You know, it's sort of like, really, I hate to bring this up, but it's the 10,000 hour thing. You sort of got to get on and do it and find out what your thing is and what thrills you with it and what bores you with it, and just sort of keep doing it. And once in a while, a good one will pop out completely by accident. The ones that you really try hard at, mostly.
Yeah.
Although I will say the song that you played at the top, Wonderland, was one of the few songs I've actually worked at, which took literally months to sort of actually become a song at all. But most of my songs are written in about 15 minutes, and they go, quick. That's what I love about having phones now, is that I don't have to write things down, because I'm a terrible, my handwriting's awful for a start.
Yeah.
And it's just like, bang, film myself. I've got so many recordings of me in weird situations in my life, usually driving the car.
Do you know what's the problem? Like, that's a great thing. I really love that we can do that. But I mean, this is going to lead to one of the things we're going to talk about at the end. I find that I forget about them, and then I go back and open that app, and there's a shit ton of these things, and I can't.
That's true.
And I go, geez, when did I do that? Well, because life moves so quickly, and that you put these ideas down, and you think, wow, look, I'll put the idea down. This is amazing. And then all of a sudden you just move on, because new shiny thing, new Mike Enjo saturator. You know, I move on really quick. For me, songwriting, we say about success, right? And hopefully connecting with people. From the extremes, from FMC, Wank Snot Sandwich, to Jade, Starr, Dread, Circus, Truth, I've got to feel something. Like, and I've got to laugh at it. I've got to go, that's ridiculous. And it makes me laugh so much. If you watch the live streams where I was writing Wank Snot Sandwich live on the show, I'm writing them there and just pissing myself laughing. So if I'm laughing at it, there's going to be somebody else. It's like, if you think, oh my God, who would do that weird thing that I just heard of? Well, if somebody just said that weird thing into existence, guess what? It's been done before. So there's always going to be somebody out there that's going to share your warped sense of humor, or your compassion, and the song that gives you goosebumps that you think is, oh, I'm finally getting it out. So I think, you know, success just should be taken out of it, because, again, I think as a species at the moment, in this present day and life, the debate that went on just recently, political debate, proved, and I'm not getting into that, but proved there's one side that's like, everything's shit, and there's one side that's like, no, let's go, we can do things, right? And if you're going to sit in that camp of going, I don't want to feel things, then guess what? You're not going to like music ultimately, because music makes you feel no matter what. So that's the one thing. We all have feelings. So no matter what you write, somebody's going to connect with it. So, you know, success is not important. And what is it?
I think it's
a vanity
important.
metric.
I think when you're doing creative things anyway, one of the things that you want to get in your mind is it's great. It's inspiring to think, somebody will connect with it. It's also really important to absorb that most people won't connect with it. Like, most people won't like what you do. That's just the way it is, right? It's not about trying to get most people to like what you do. It's just resonating with people in some meaningful way, and you can't control much of the rest of it, because what people like is so much of it is beyond your control. I used to think this when I used to be out busking, and it used to be helpful to me, because if you're ever out on the street, especially if you've got an electricity bill to pay, and those are the days when no one pays you, right? When you go, oh shit, I need $50 today. I made 200 last week when I was out. Should be a breeze.
Zero money
You
on
get
those
nothing.
days. Yeah, absolutely.
People sense the need in you, right?
Yep.
They go, oh, this guy needs it. I don't like that. I'm not
Fuck
giving you
you.
nothing. Right. Right. So on those slightly more miserable days outside a shopping centre with your guitar in hand and feeling as small as whatever a small thing is, as Donald Trump's penis or something, then you know,
Yes.
is that you then I used to have lots of good psychology in me to get me through those days. And one of the things I used to realize is that, okay, here I am. I'm currently playing a happy song, cheerful song by Jason Mraz, right? And then the guy who's walking past me is Jade Starr, into death metal. Not Jade Starr, because you're much more open-minded, but he only listens to death metal. He's got that filter. That's what he listens to. It's who he is. It's what he likes, right? So it doesn't really matter if I'm having a great day that day and I'm singing pretty well and I'm getting all the chords right and I'm delivering it right. I don't get past his bar at all. He walks past me. It sounds rubbish, that, you know. Or someone else comes along and all they listen to is, Bach and Mozart, and they don't. So you just can't. There's certain things that you're just not going to be able to please people. There are some times you can really cross divides with a great impassioned performance, and you can really convert people once in a while, which would be nice. But so don't worry about that. Don't worry when people go, don't get it. Don't get it. What? Don't like it. You know, if you listen to this is better. Don't worry about that. Just forget it. Just do your thing. I know that sounds cheesy, but just do your thing.
I want
to
ask you about this. This is something which I didn't realize has happened to me in songwriting. Now, for the longest time, as far as I can remember, because, you know, I've played in a lot of bands, done the rehearsal rooms, recording studios, all the typical shit that you do to pay your dues. And during those times, you wrote songs. If it was in a band, you're in a rehearsal space and you're throwing ideas at each other and a song comes together, or it doesn't, it falls apart and you move on. But all the time, I think back through my nearly 40 years of making music, songs were written before I recorded them.
Yep.
But since becoming a YouTube content creator, I do shows where I'm showing you my process. And nearly every one of those songs starts on the show with no idea. And I'm making the song and you're seeing the process happen naturally. And I don't know if that's better or worse. I feel like I haven't written a song, because I used to write everything on an acoustic and then turn it into a band project or an acoustic song or whatever. I don't think I've written a song like that for 4 years. Every song has been on YouTube in front of people, and it's a really weird process to think about. Has that made my songwriting worse or better? I can't work it out, because I don't know. I can't be the judge of it. It feels natural, but yeah, this is the difference of being a content creator now and songwriter to just being a songwriter and sitting in your bedroom on your bed playing guitar and then creating stuff. Do you write songs? Have you ever written a song like that where you're in front of people on a stream and just starting from zero?
No, I've never done that. I'd like to do it, but I think if I did that, every single song would come out as a comedy song for me, because that's kind of where I go to, you know.
Right.
So it'd be very hard for me to be introspective or, you know, do that. So I've never done that. Maybe I should. Maybe I should try it out. I've had a couple of songs that I've written which were born out of something I prepared for a video, you know, musically. You know, there's been a couple of songs which were only ever intended to be, you know, a verse to demonstrate a plugin or something along those lines, and then turned out to be. I've got one particular song I did. If you ever look at my videos, there's an old one I did which is called Three Blind Mics. You see, that's why I'm a songwriter, because I come up with titles like that. I did a blind test of 3 mics. No one really got it. 3 blind mics. I think in my thumbnail, it even had a little mouse. I was trying to be creative back then. Didn't work. But anyway, that 3 blind mics, this is how it came about.
You know we're going to play it.
Oh, don't do that. I said to Suze, well, part of this video, you're going to sing into these 3 microphones, the capsules. So I want one performance. They're all going to be close together. And I said, it's going to be a cappella. So I'm going to have to write something which there's not many big gaps in between the lines. Literally, that's how I sort of came up with the idea for the song. So I've got to come up with something. So that was the structure. So it was a functional thing. Laying on the sofa one day, because I couldn't really come up with an idea for the actual lyrics, and that song, that program Maths was on, Married at First Sight, and the couple on there were having some sort of drama.
Isn't that whole show drama?
Yeah, it was drama, and they were having a drama, and something about their current drama, something sort of resonated, and it gave me 4 lines of lyrics, which is all I needed for this video. Done job, 4 lines of decent lyrics. They're okay. They'll carry it. No gaps in between. That was the important thing, because it was going to be an a cappella thing. So we recorded that and put that video out. And then in the comments, people were going, that's a really good song, isn't it? That's a really good song. Who wrote that song? Who wrote the song? I was going, no one's written that song yet. So at some point, several months later, I thought, I better write the rest. I should write the rest of that song, because it seems to be resonating with people. You know, I'd written a little piano part to go behind the vocals, and so I thought, I'll just write the rest of that song. So I just expanded on this completely fictional love relationship, which was not about me and Susie or any previous relationship. It wasn't even about that thing from Maths anymore. I just sort of created a little story, wrote the song, and then we made a video. Suze was really into, she goes on Smule, which is like a karaoke app, really, right? She loves going on there. She's on there all the time. She's probably on there last night. And anyway, early on in my YouTube, I thought, oh, I want to show people how they could get something like that little IK multimedia thing, plug it into their phone, and use something like a Rode, and I had a Rode NT1A at the time, and they could learn how to connect up a studio mic to their phone and really up their game with Smule. So I made a video on that. I think it's got a couple of 100,000 views. It's big in the Smule community. And so as a part of that video, I put the backing track to this song on Smule. That's my long way of saying that song got quite popular on Smule, and there's hundreds of people have recorded their vocal to it, right? It represents me in some weird way, but it was totally not the way, as you can hear, I would write a song normally. It was just these evolution of events. It was really done for semi-commercial reasons, I suppose, in a weird way, but it was never intended to be a song. It picked up, and then people love it. They just love it. I don't know whether they love to sing it. Some of them sing it pretty terribly. I don't know. I go, Sue's picked that up in a second and she sung it. Why are you guys struggling with this so much? But they have a lot of fun doing it. You know, they really have a lot of fun. See you, Conrad. Nice to see you.
See you later.
They have a lot of fun doing it. They express themselves through it. And so that song sort of exists. That came out of, it was born out of a video. I would never write a song like that in normal circumstances. It's good, though. It's good I think it's good. Whatever you've done, you know, what you were saying, you've written a song on the show, and whatever way that constrains you because you're on the show in that moment doing it, which is a bit different to sitting on your bed with an acoustic guitar. I think it's all good, to be honest with you. Whether in the end you go, I don't want to do that anymore, I just want to go back to starting it off on the guitar, you'll have learned something in the process, really, you know, and that you'll have evolved in that way.
You know, this brings up a really good point, because you write music and think, wow, this is going to resonate with people. This is going to be really cool. And this could be the single for my album. This is the one I think everybody's going to listen to. And then there's this song that you put second last on the album that you go, this definitely not the best song, but it rounds out to lead into the final song, which is a banger. this is a really good choice. And then when you release that, guess what happens? That second last song somehow fucking resonates with people. And then you're stuck playing that song every fucking gig. And you think, how does this happen?
I'm in this weird predicament at the moment. There was a song I wrote years and years and years and years ago. And I probably shouldn't say, but someone I know dated a woman, and she had red hair, and she was a fiery personality. And this is a weird song for me because I wrote this song, Red-Headed Woman. It's got a really simple chord progression and a really simple, slightly bluesy kind of melody and what have you. And when I used to play with the band, back then in the UK, we'd have a sort of an intermission sometimes where I'd play a couple of acoustic numbers without the band. And it was sort of one of those songs that I used to do. Sometimes the band would join in a little bit. And people loved this song. And it sort of was a bit annoying to me because it was so simple and it wasn't different. Didn't have any surprises in it. It wasn't clever in any way. But for whatever reason, people, I love that song. I love that song, you know. And I played it for years and never sort of really recorded it or anything like that. And it was always a live moment and it existed. And then I didn't play it for years, you know, because I got bored with playing it. It was almost, the prediction was even boring. Like I knew when I played it that people go, oh, that's a good song. Oh, I like that. You know, that became predictable, right? So it put me off of it. So anyway, I'm talking on a few months ago. I'm chatting with a guy that used to come to watch me. I'd sort of caught up with him, hadn't spoken to him for decades, probably, right? And I'm chatting to him on Messenger the other day. He's a good guy. And he says, I still remember going to your gigs. He says, only the other day, he said, I was driving along the car and I was singing your song, Red-Headed Woman, right? And I was thinking, what the hell is it about this song, right? That he can even remember like the melody and shit, because he hasn't got a recording to listen to like decades later, right? It's weird. And it was in my mind at that time. I hadn't played it, but of course it was one of those ones, picked up my guitar, just played it all the way through, remembered all the lyrics and everything. And then I did that video about 8 weeks ago about Luna, because they brought out Luna, the door for Windows for free. And I made a video about it. And because it was in my mind at the time, I thought I've got to quickly record some sort of song on this door. And I play this song, Red-Headed Woman, right? And I played it at the end of the video. And then in the comments of the video, people going, great song, love that song. What's that? Yeah. And here's the funny thing. So I tell just that story I've told you, and I tell Suze, and I have a listen to this song, and I play the song, and she goes, don't like it.
So, yeah. Man, we had this song in Despise, because in Despise, this band I was in for years, we were known as, nobody knew where to book us because we were like Frank Zappa meets death metal meets jazz fusion. It was everything all together. And we used to have this joke amongst each other. If somebody fucked up and fell over or, you know, something dumb happened, we'd call them the septic Midas. Everything you touch turns to shit. And when we're in the studio, we did this demo, and the guy who's engineering this goes, you got a bit of time you could probably throw on another track on this demo. And we're like, we don't have one. And somebody played this riff, and I started going, yo, yo, and this became Septic Midas, and we put it on the fucking demo, and it's the worst fucking song ever, right? And of course, because it's got a chorus, it just goes, yo, yo, so it's easy to sing. We didn't realize, and every fucking gig, Septic Midas. Even 2 weeks ago, a guy messaged me going, oh, remember me? I used to be your biggest fan in Despise, Septic Midas. I'm like, fuck, man, out of all the great... And, you know, I've got it here. I'm going to play a second of it just so you can have a laugh.
Yeah.
Here we go. Here we go. Here it is.
I don't know what to do. Do. Where is Jade gone? Where is Jade gone?
Hey.
How does this work?
I don't know. Let me get you back. I think the stream will come back up. I've lost your image. Are we back?
All right. Okay. Have you lost my image?
There we are. You're back. Are we
I'm
back?
back. Yeah. I think we're back. I think we're
Holy
back.
shit, dude! I just had a power surge. The whole internet went.
Oh,
Power went out. Everything just flashed. It was like, see that's, and I had to run downstairs and quickly reset the router, reset my power board. Oh, a bit out of breath. See, that song sucks.
Yeah, no, I really liked it.
It sucks. Look what it does. It cuts me off the internet. See. Oh man, that was hell.
I mean, I understand. It's really where the essence of it is that you weren't overthinking it and you were just doing it.
It's the moment, yeah.
Yeah, that's a powerful thing, and people pick up on it. You know, I can hear you out of breath there. It was the most.
Dude, I'm in a 3-story apartment. My modem is in the bottom floor, and I'm not the most healthiest human being. So weird, the other side of the planet, but our internet went out as well. Do you know, this is a thing. This is happening all around the world. Is Elon Musk going to help us with creating new batteries? I don't think so. He's too busy tweeting. I think we've covered most. Let's have a conclusion.
Yeah.
What? You wrap it up.
I think that, first of all, if you're writing songs at all, understand that you belong to it seems like there's songwriters everywhere, but actually you belong to a really small, elite little club of people who can take words and music and put them together and tell a story. Most people can't do it or won't do it in their whole lifetime. So pat yourself on the back for that. There is no worse, there is no better, but there's my worse and there's your better. But you know, that's all. But probably there's not so much worse or better, but there are things that will resonate with people more than other things. We are sort of social animals, and there's ways that we've learned to communicate with each other. If you view songwriting at all as a form of communication, then for me personally, and I had this conversation in my own group the other day, for me, as soon as we use the word communication, that implies a two-way thing. There's a sender and a receiver at least. And if you don't care if your message is received by other people or not, then you don't really need to develop your craft at all. You can just do therapeutic songwriting, which is just for you. But if you care that in some way there's a communication and the other person will receive a message of some kind, then it's worth probably honoring some of the things that make that possible and that oil that process, you know. So does that make any sense?
Yes, absolutely. I think in conclusion, there are not enough rule breakers in music these days.
No, yes.
And we need to, I think we need to have, yes, we do need to have some element of rule breakers that break through. And if people are following stock standard concepts of songwriting, then that's not going to happen. People should take chances and be risky with their songwriting. And not always, you don't always have to be, but I think thinking outside of the box and constantly fucking up. Because like it's very important. Like we do go back and listen to our old songs, and no matter what you say, you are going to get better as you progress, and you're going to dislike stuff you've done from the past. It's just the way it is, because you naturally do get better. So don't be disheartened if you write something that is not received well. It happens, you know, and I think continuing to push the boundaries of what a song should be is the best way to write music. And this is just for me, like I love that I'm writing songs on a live stream now instead of, I didn't realize I was doing it, you know, and now I do. Is that going to sit in my head now going, oh my God, you should be writing songs on an acoustic again? Am I going to go back and try that? The thing is, not to get too bogged down in all don't get too bogged down watching characters on YouTube telling
like us.
how to write
I
songs.
want to sort of clarify something here because I think it's really important because actually the two things that me and you have said appear to be in conflict with each other somewhat because I was talking about using known techniques to
Yes.
transfer a message and you were talking about difference but actually I think that you've put me onto a really important topic that actually effective communication involves surprises to keep people engaged. A part of what people have always done is have surprises, a unique phrase or something which stands out. In a moment, I think you're going to play a song
Yes.
that I wrote some years ago called God Should Be Ashamed. And when I wrote that, which was like 30 years ago, it wasn't, I knew that even the title was provocative. To say God should be ashamed, I know that if people are quite religious, that might upset them a little bit. What do you mean, God? Who are you to say God should be ashamed? You know, it stirs people up a little bit. And I wanted to stir them up. I wanted to, it was the way I was feeling at the time. I was thinking, well, if God's in control of everything, why would he do things like that?
Yeah.
You know? Why would he allow that to happen? Blah blah blah. And well, I shouldn't say blah 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 because quite a legitimate feeling to have at certain points in your life. But but yeah, it wasn't lost on me in a sense. I didn't do it to shock people, but when that phrase came in my head, and I thought, oh, that's the way I'm feeling. Oh, that could upset people. Then I thought, okay, yeah, all right, I should leave that in then.
Now, this is the reason why this show exists, because we are so very different, right? But we are very similar. And this represents people in general, right? And
Absolutely.
I think the idea I had behind this and asking you to come on here is that because we are an odd couple in the way, but we're very similar. We've both been buskers. We both have home studios. We've both released music. We've both faced very heavy burdens in our life and are still overcoming them and had victories and losses, right? So we have our similarities. But what is great about this rant show is that no matter how different our opinions are on this kind of subject, the middle is always the way.
Yeah. Look,
right?
I sort of feel, to be honest with you, if you look in forums and things where people bitch about each other and you've got keyboard warriors, blah, 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 blah,
Yep.
you know, that represents the sort of lower end of what people like us and your audience do. In reality, when you look at, you know, let's use the word successful, but I've seen that often successful people, whether they are a musician or maybe a sports person, you know, when you get your two local teams, they're going to have that derby. All the fans hate each other,
Yeah.
but usually the players respect each other enormously,
Absolutely.
right? Because they understand what they've had to do to get to that match, right? So for me, it's like, yeah, I might not personally be into death metal, but I can totally respect the people that are into it and their craft and what they do. In the end, we may have produced a stylistically different product, but we're really very, very similar in the sense of what we even are motivated to do with our lives, you know. So, you know, I think that, as you say, we're apparently quite different, but in the end, similar. And most people you'll see, whether they're songwriters or music producers or musicians or guitarists or whatever they are, usually if they're good at what they do, they actually do have quite a lot of respect for people very different to themselves.
Yeah. You
You
can
know?
always tell people who don't have passion because they're in those forums telling people they suck and they're shit
Yeah,
and they're never
exactly.
going to be worth
Yeah,
anything.
yeah,
It
yeah.
is about building people up and tossing ideas out there and having humility and all this kind of stuff. It's very important, you know, and it's one of the reasons I value you as a friend, you know, because I know we can have these conversations for 6 hours and not get butthurt. We've talked about everything
Yeah.
together. Let's let people in. We talked about racism, fascism, words you can't say, wokes. We talk about everything, you know.
Yeah.
And even if we don't agree, like there still is a middle ground that sensibility comes in. That's just like you do you, boo. All right, just don't shit on other people's fucking parades, man. That's
Look, while we're going to talk about it, I am one of the worst types of people on the planet at the moment. Apparently,
here we go.
You know,
it's a white male.
I'm a middle-aged white male. You know, everyone hates me because apparently I'm racist, I'm sexist.
You are.
You know, all these things. So I'm actually
You're not.
I'm really being trodden on quite poor.
And that's strange because you are very heartfelt and you think about a lot and you take a lot of stuff to heart and mull over it and it can, you know.
So yeah, it's just this part of the human race. If I've never talked about this on my channel, but here we go. I don't get it. I just don't get it. You know, I had people of very, very black people who were my friends when I was 5 or 6 years old, and they were just my friends. And it's good because at that age you don't really see race, I don't think. And so when I saw adults around me reacting to those people and telling me I shouldn't be friends with them, I was like, what's wrong with you?
Yeah, I know.
What? I play my dinky cars with him. Do you remember dinky cars?
Yeah, I do.
Matchbox cars. We used to call them dinky cars, right? I just want to play my Matchbox cars with him. What are you talking about?
That's just Jason. What are you talking about?
Yeah, you know, what do you mean he's black and I shouldn't bring him home again ever?
Weird.
You know, but right. And then I was probably a bit naive in some ways. You know, I probably didn't really think about what gayness was or homosexuality or things like that, honestly, when I was growing up as a teenager. Well, maybe I did, but anyway. But at a certain point, I was sharing a house, musicians, and one of the guys in there was gay. It was like, "Oh, you're gay, are you? Okay." And then, what sort of music do you like? Then he was into electronic music, and of course, he was into electronic music. Keep
that stereotype rolling.
Keep that going. Yeah, he was a real Pet Shop Boys fan. But you know, and it was like, all right, okay, you know, and he's fun, you know. And when I moved to Australia, a great house I moved into in Fremantle, a gay French guy with a very straight-laced Japanese guy and 2 Swedish lesbians, and we all lived in a house together. We had great parties. I must say we did have some, but so, and I could just never understand it. I could never understand why people were bothered about what other people are doing. Right? I just couldn't, like, it's none of my business.
People act like they're being forced to, like, be strapped in a chair in your bedroom while you're having sex. Right? They act like that. They're like, oh my God, again, I have to sit in that chair with the cuckold on watching you perform whatever you do. It's like, buddy, you don't. You've got your own home. Yeah, and you know, I tell you, Mike, the people who do that the most, who go, I'm so concerned about what you do, you don't want to know what they do in their bedroom.
No,
because I'm telling you, it's bad.
I do. Or maybe I do.
Or maybe it's bad, and you just certainly don't want to check under their floorboards. All right.
I actually, you know, definitely, you know, I think he doth protest too much.
Exactly.
Comes to mind quite a lot.
Yes.
With these people, but yeah, so you know, I'm glad about that. And although I was brought up in a religious environment, I'm not particularly religious. I have some sort of spiritual beliefs, which I won't bore people with, but I'm not sort of, you know, boxed into one kind of belief. I'm like, I kind of have beliefs, but I'm kind of interested to hear what other people think about things. And what that does, I'll tell you what it does. When you don't, what I've observed, when you don't have these barriers about other people's sexuality or their race or religion, it enables you to go off to foreign countries and eat weird food and walk around temples that you don't understand the meaning of, and go to celebrations and types of weddings and funerals that you never would experience. And as long as you're not taking it all too seriously, like you're viewing it a little bit as the outsider in. Alan Watts, one of my favorite philosophers, says man suffers because he takes seriously what the gods meant for fun, right? And he advocates enjoy it all, go along to the bar mitzvah and listen to the music. It's great. You know, I think Tim Minchin says something about this in one of his songs, you know, about Christmas. You know, he doesn't believe in the religion, but he quite likes the songs.
Yeah,
you
yeah.
know, you know, and so I'm so glad I'm like that. I'm so happy that I'm able to walk into different environments and not have to be like those people,
Yep.
but appreciate. I met my second wife in a gay bar. They used to have a gay Mardi Gras here in Perth. I don't think they have it
No, they
anymore.
canned it. I've played it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. And I used to go out on that. I had some friends, you know, who were gay. I used to go out with them, and I was the token straight guy. And we went to this place called the Court Hotel in Perth, which is still a gay venue. And we were there and gay Mardi Gras, and I seen this gorgeous woman, ended up being my second wife. And I thought, well, this is a bummer, isn't it? Meeting someone who's probably a lesbian, you know.
No.
So, you know, so I just went up to her and I went, "Are you a lesbian?" She said, "No." And she went, "No." And she said, "Are you gay?" I went, "No." And we were like, "Yeah,
Oh.
we're off to a good." So, my kids are going to kill me for telling me that story.
Let's wrap it up now. What are we going to talk
All right.
about on the next show, Mike? We'll have a discussion about it, and we'll come back to you.
Let's go to the last comment of the Doug Kidder says, "Diversity is the spice." Seriously, let's make that the next show then. Diversity is the spice.
All right.
Seriously, I think that should be the title.
What was that thing
Take
we were
it
going to
easy.
say? We're going to add on the end of each word today before the show. Oh, you said it. It was your thing. Oh man. Anyway, I'm getting sidetracked. Let's play this song. Thank you everybody for hanging out. I hope you enjoy these shows. I enjoy doing them, and I just love different perspectives and being able to talk this stuff and just have some fun. So we're going to play this God Should Be Ashamed. We don't need to explain it. We just need to play it. It says it all in the title. It's a wonderful song. You're going to love it. I picked this today because I really like this song. And what's coming up here on the channel on the weekend? Guess what, my friends? We got a really fun show. You guys know how much I love Faith No More. And I'm going to prove it again because we have a Faith No More tribute show for the opening hour happening this week. A couple of weeks ago, I did a Doors show on the channel and YouTube blocked the entire show. But then 2 days ago, they released the block.
Nice.
I've never seen that happen before. So if you want to check out that Doors show I did, go and check that out. All the links to Mike Enjo in the description.
Thanks,
everything,
Thomas.
his music. Thomas has been banging links all the way through as well. So
Thanks.
all right. Song Timber's on. I hope you're doing well with your song and all that jazz. I'll be continuing on this week with lots of cool stuff. Next week, we have an interview with an amazing person called Rachel's Ghost. She's from the vinyl community that is on YouTube where they collect albums. She's transgender and just wild. It's going to be a show that's going to be hard to control, actually. It's really looking forward to it. Let's play this song. This is Mike Enjo, God Should Be Ashamed. Folks, firstly, thank you, Mike, for coming on as always. Cheers.
Thank you, Jade. It's been very much like our phone calls, actually, which I really enjoyed.
Good. Are you going to hang on so I can say goodbye at the end of the show?
Yeah.
Oh, awesome.
Sure.
All right. And thank you all for being here in the chat. If you're watching on the replay as well, hit the like, do that stuff. It helps the algorithm, all that shit. This is God Should Be Ashamed. Do the things that make you happy. Mistakes make you better. We'll all rise together and stay awake, whatever you do. Don't be woke, but stay awake. This is God Should Be Ashamed. Let's ode ya.
It was a sunny winter's day on a sleepy English island. The day you went away, I felt that everyone should feel the grief with me. The whiteness of the room where you were lying is burned inside my memory me for good. You slipped outside my grasp, but not through one of trying. If I could, you know that I would. And if I say I'll make it right someday, I would be lying. It's never the right person who's to blame. God, you'd be ashamed. God, you'd be ashamed. God, you'd be ashamed. God, you'd be ashamed. It was a sunny winter's day, with the wind that cut right through you. I guess it happens every day, but it didn't make it easier for me. And I won't give praise to God of all, who gives us creatures great and small. I curse him as he's taking them away. I couldn't be as he, and if I could, you know that I would. And if I say I'll make it right someday, I would be lying. It's never the right person who's to blame. God should be ashamed. God should be ashamed. God should be ashamed. God should be ashamed. Creatures great and small, I curse him as he's taking them away. I couldn't be as he, and if I could, you know that I would. And if I say I'll make it right someday, I would be lying. It's never the right person who's to blame. God should be ashamed. God should be ashamed. God should be ashamed. God should be ashamed.